What is up, sires, liars, and product deniers? Thanks for sitting down at the Messy Desk with me this week. Today, I want to continue the series I started last week about the Octatrack and why you should buy it. Now it's why you shouldn't buy it, why it's not for you, why you might hate this ugly gray rectangle. It looks like a box from Alien. I didn't like the movie Alien. A lot of spooky aliens in that thing. Wish they would have told me about that. Wish they would have been more upfront. Thought it was going to be a little romp in space. All of a sudden, a little chink chomp bow wow, eating people, coming out of people's bellies. It's not for me. I don't like it. I relate to you. And even though I love the Octatrack, I hate the Octatrack. And anybody who uses the Octatrack for more than like 10 minutes will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Today, I really tried to look as objectively as I could at the stupid thing and take feedback that I've heard from students and just commenters in general and try to distill exactly in 8 reasons why the Octatrack sucks butt sometimes. And before we get started, actually, it's worth noting that most of the things that suck about the Octatrack don't suck about the Digitact. This is a nice little almost buy this, not that maybe, because I am a shill and I got a shill. But if you hate these things about the Octatrack, you might enjoy the benefits of the Digitact a little more. Affiliate link down below. And that might work out better for you. I have them both. I love them both. In an ideal world, you could have them both, but not everyone is the opulent YouTube elite like me and can have them. So if you hate the Octatrack and you hate these reasons, look into the Digitact. It might be more for you. I have a comparison video. I'll put it over there where I kind of break down their exact differences. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Reason number 1 is the learning curve. I mentioned in my last video that I don't think the learning curve is as insane as people make it out to be. I don't think it's truly that crazy. But also, I might have Stockholm Syndrome a little bit. I've been using the Octatrack for years. My brain thinks in Octatrack. I wake up in the middle of the night scrawling Octatrack patterns on the wall. You know, it's a whole problem. But objectively, this thing is hard. And weird. And especially if you haven't used an Elektron product before, like, my God, if this is your first Elektron product, I wouldn't blame you for being soured to the entire brand. Because it seems like, I mean, it is such a fucking mess. The issue with the Octatrack that causes this learning curve is that there's so many options, there's so much stuff that you can do, that trying to learn to do one thing can end up being kind of an interlocking web of trying to learn how to do 8 things at once. You want to use a pickup machine to loop? Well, you better know how sampling works, otherwise you're going to have some problems. You want to learn how to sample? Well, you better understand how the inputs work, what all these little abbreviations mean, etc. It gets really gnarly, really fast, and I don't blame people for just opening it and going, this can't be worth it. Whatever's on the other side of this, just, it doesn't make sense. It's not worth it. It's much like me when I sit down to play any JRPG. Okay, I sit down, and I'm like, boy, 100 hours for this, huh? Whatever people are talking about, it's not worth it. Or Dark Souls, you know, you get crushed by a boss, in my experience, and my response is not, I'm going to try that again. It's, whoa, that sucked. I'm good. I'm going to go play Stardew Valley for 100 hours. It's a tough prospect. It's a tough thing to sign up for and deal with. So I really don't blame people for hating this, for kind of writing off the Octatrack because of this insane learning curve.
Does it have an insane learning curve? I don't think so.
And reason number 2 actually jumps right off that. These all flow very nicely. I'm very smart and I wrote these out perfectly. Who's surprised, right? Number 2 is that because of this insane learning curve, it's really easy to make big mistakes, like project ruining mistakes. You don't understand how parts work, you're going to fuck up your whole project. You don't understand how sampling works and saving samples, you're going to turn off your Octatrack without saving the things you sampled, and you're going to fuck up your whole project. These things happen constantly if you don't have a loving, guiding hand like me, link down below to sign up for lessons, to guide you and say, don't do that. Don't do that. It's like, I'm a human game facts guide. A lot of video game analogies today. I'm a human game facts guide, okay? Don't walk into that corner, okay? Because the bad man's there and he gonna cut you. Save your recording buffers, because if you don't, you're gonna lose your Tiny Tim remix and you're gonna hate yourself and your friendship with Andrew will dissolve. That's a throwback. That's an old reference right there. Only the real Messy Desk heads will understand. So yeah, it's not really a long, elaborative reason, but it's a huge one because there is nothing more inspiration killing than having a machine destroy something you've worked on, you know? I have Ableton. I've used Ableton for years and I love it. it's been crashing regularly, and I'm literally considering moving to another DAW, even though I've used Ableton for years and love it, because it has destroyed things I've worked hard on, and it's really fucking annoying. So I can't imagine how someone feels when they sit down on the Octatrack and do a whole project only to have it be ruined. Is what I would say if I hadn't used the Octatrack, which I have, and it's happened to me. It still happens to me. I've been using this thing for years, and I still forget to save my recording buffers. I still forget to, change parts, or I change parts the wrong way, and I change the wrong thing in the wrong part, and it's all screwed up. It can be a headache. It can be a mess. It sucks. I hate that. Ooh, I hate that. And now, after hearing those first two reasons, bad learning curve, easy to make big mistakes, you gotta say to yourself, just read the manual. The manual's got to help you out. The manual's there. That's what the manual's for. RTFM. Read the manual. It's so easy if you just read the manual. Here's the thing about the manual on the Octatrack. It sucks! It's a bad manual, guys. They did a bad manual. I'm sorry, Mario and the boys at Elektron. You did a bad one. It's a weirdly bad manual in that I think that Max Marco said this, which is it's the only manual that you need to know how to use the device before it's helpful. And that's so true, it actually hurts my brain inside my head. If you don't know how to use the Octatrack, if you've never used it before, the manual is virtually useless, in my experience, and in the experience of students. And the experience of my students is that the manual is dog shit. But if you've used the Octatrack a lot, if you have broken your teeth on that crossfader, the manual is actually okay. It's still kind of annoying, but it's useful. I went back recently and I read what parts are in the manual to see if it would help my understanding of it or help my explanation of it to people. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But when I read it the first time, no fucking clue. And I think that's the experience of a lot of people. So those three things stacking on top of each other make for a really rough first impression of the Octatrack. Really steep learning curve. Really big project ruining mistakes that are a click away, and a manual that cannot help you through it. Woof. What could the last 5 reasons be? Let's find out. Reason number 4. There's so many menus. There's so many menus on this dang thing. And there's so many sub-menus. And there's so many button combinations to get to those menus. And there's so many, sometimes redundant menus. It's rough. There's so many menus that I made a video about how many menus there are on this gosh dang thing and which ones actually matter and which screens actually matter and the settings, and there's just so much. And if you're like me and you open a bunch of settings and you look at them and there's a bunch of shit that you don't understand, you just go, I'm just going to hope it's fine and I'm going to move on. And because of that, you might have a setting buried for you that is very important, like quick sampling on the Octatrack, like, variable pattern length, etc. And so you're left Googling later how to do these things because the manual sure as shit not going to help you. And it's just a really annoying process. Carrying over game analogies, I've been playing this board game a lot recently. It's called Too Many Bones. It's very expensive, very cool. I love it a lot. All the characters are poker chips. I don't gamble because I'm not smart and I don't have money, but I do play this game and it's great and fun and I love it. Problem is, the rulebook sucks ass. And there are a lot of rules that are open for interpretation. So I have Googled so many things, and every time I do it, it annoys me a little bit more because it's taking me out of the game, taking me out of what I'm doing. Oh, does this interact with this way? Does this? Ugh. My point is, that happens with the Octatrack a lot. I'm making a song, and I'm like, oh, how do I do a polyrhythm? Okay, well, I'm not going to look at the manual because I know the manual sucks, and I'm not going to try to figure it out on my own because I could, without knowing, fuck up my entire project. So I guess I'm going to Google and hope it's on Elektronauts. And it takes you out of making music. And if you're like me, it destroys your inspiration and it sucks. I hate it. Would not recommend it. Just the worst. Having that many menus to ignore and be kind of left in a corner and potentially cause problems down the line is a big, big problem. Don't like it. Number 5 is kind of a weird one because I don't know how much this will mean to a lot of people, but it kind of means something to me, which is that the Octatrack has what I would call non-transferable skills. If you've used the other Elektron devices, like the Digitact and the Digatone, they are almost exactly the same in workflow, right? They kind of transfer over to each other in terms of the skills you learn. If you know how to do something on the Digitact, you can do it on the Digatone pretty quickly as well. The Octatrack is a relic of a bygone era for Elektron, and because of that, its skills don't transfer over to their newer products almost at all. Now, if you're trying to use the Rhythm and the Analog 4, do the skills transfer over? Also, no, they don't, because Elektron was doing mind-numbing shit, like calling things kits and then parts and then not calling them anything on the Digitact and the Digatone. I don't want to say they didn't know what they were doing, but I would say that they were in between philosophies with the Octatrack. It's kind of a bastard child of a whole bunch of ideas kind of shoved together. And so if you spend a lot of time learning the Octatrack, you cannot port that knowledge anywhere else. I mean, you're learning the Elektron sequencer, which can be ported to any Elektron sequencer, and that's one of the most beautiful things about Elektron. But ultimately, those other skills, they're just not useful anywhere. So you're kind of committing to just learning the Octatrack and having that be useful on the Octatrack and loving the Octatrack. And I don't know, that's kind of a deal breaker for some people. It's not a deal breaker for me because I'm not very creative and I don't really have much stuff I want to port myself into anyway. But for some people, I think that is going to be kind of an annoyance, kind of a problem, especially if they want to get deeper into the Elektron line and they're hoping that this is an introduction. Really bad introduction. Get a dig attack instead. Number 6, and this is one that I'm sure up until this point, people have been like frothing at the mouth. You're probably commenting down below like, how the fuck have you not listed this as a reason? You're a fraud and I hate you. Ever since you got affiliate links, you've gotten uglier. It's not the affiliate links. It's all the pizza I'm eating. But I will tell you that, don't worry, I'm going to say it right now. Okay, so take a deep breath, wipe the foam from your lips, maybe take a drink of water if the rabies hasn't gotten to you yet. The effects are dog shit. They're just bad. There's really no two ways to go about it. I can tell you, you can get creative with them. You can do interesting things with them. I like the comb filter. I like X, Y, and Z. I like the lo-fi effect. They're bad effects. And in some instances, like in the case of the reverbs, other than the dark reverb, which still isn't great, it's okay, it's passable, they are useless. Like the spring reverb and the plate reverb just sound like shit, unless you're trying to do like experimental noise music. And I won't comment how I feel about experimental noise music. You do your thing if that's your thing. Not my thing. Not useful to me at all, and not useful to a huge swath of people at all. And it's a huge bummer because you can get so creative with these effects. Just imagine if they were good. Think about all the parameter locks and crossfader slides and things you could do if the effects were good. But they're not. They're not good. They sound like dog shit. It could be a real problem for people. I don't care because I'm a human trash can and I don't need my stuff to sound good. I just need the tactile feeling of doing this, and it's a lot of fun for me. But if you really need a good reverb, the dig attack, the digatone, those are going to be better options for you. Or just like, don't worry about those effects and you can port it into the DAW. But we'll talk about how the Octatrack ports stuff into the DAW a little later. Spoiler alert. It's not very good. Yeah, so to recap, because I know we've covered a lot here, the effects suck. They suck. They're just bad. I don't like them. I hate them. Let's just move on. Number 7, and this is something I hear people say all the time, and I think it's a misunderstanding of how the Octatrack works, or how the Octatrack is, and this is something that I've said myself that I didn't understand, and someone very kindly explained it to me. The Octatrack has, seemingly, a very flat and boring sound, and that's true, but it's not a fault of the Octatrack. It's not some weird thing in its outputs, or like, I don't know, I've heard people say some weird shit, like, oh, the Octatrack just has a bad sound chip. Huh? It's just that there's no coloration to the sound. At all. None. The dig attack has a delightful compressor, and you can beat your stuff to shit, or you can just color it so it just sounds really poppy, really nice. The Octatrack has none of that. It's very, like, German industrial, yeah? Just, you like it the way it is, and what you don't like this, go make it better, yeah? It's a great German accent. All my German fans are going to love that. I really appealed to the German portion of my audience there. German fans, fucking give me a shout out in the comments. I forgive you for World War II. It wasn't your fault. That Hitler guy, he was crazy, huh? No hard feelings towards you. I definitely have hard feelings towards Hitler as a Jewish man. Gotta say, Hitler, not cool. But to the Germans, what's up? I love your strudel. Yeah, it just has kind of a boring sound. And that can be annoying for people like me, who aren't very smart and don't know how to make sound good. The dig attack just sounds good out of the dang thing, and we love that. The Octatrack, you're going to have to do some mixing, you're going to have to do some coloration in the DAW or whatever your final recording device is. You're going to have to figure it out. Yeah, kind of just leaves you to your own devices, which is, you know, like I said, a variable problem for some people, but it's a problem for me, and it's definitely something I've heard repeated enough to me that it seems like a big issue for people. So thought I'd bring that up before we reach the close of this list, which is number 8. You may say to yourself, okay, the effects are shit, but I can just record it into my DAW and I'll fix it in the DAW and whatever. You can do that. I mean, you can, but it's not easy. and it's not useful, and it's not streamlined at all. Whereas the Digitact has Overbridge, and the Digiton as well, where you literally just plug a USB into your computer and you can stream all 8 channels and mute and unmute and make changes, and it'll just record it all. Multi-tracked. Wow, love that. It's literally the reason I have these devices, the Digitact and the Digiton. If they didn't do these things, I probably would have just sold them by now. But that ability to transfer like kind of primordial ideas from these sequencers into my DAW to be sliced and rearranged and mixed is huge. The Octatrack just can't do that. Now, full disclosure, there's some stuff you can do with like the Q outputs, like studio mode, where you can have tracks routed through the 4 outputs, so you can have 2 tracks in each of the 4. I don't know. I don't want to do that. I don't like the subgroup thing. I'm incredibly anal. I need everything on a separate track so I can mute and unmute it, so I can process them differently. I think a lot of people feel the same way. The Octatrack just can't do that. So you go through all this hard work. You learn the Octatrack. You suffer the bad mistakes that it causes for you. You get past the dog shit manual. You learn all these menus. You get all these skills that are not going to be transferred to literally any device. You learn to love these shitty, stupid effects. You tell yourself, it's okay, I'll just color the sound in the DAW. And then you go to record to the DAW, and how do you do it? You just solo a track and record 16 bars, and then mute that, and solo a track and record 16 bars, and mute that, and open a new track in your DAW and record 16 bars or 8 bars or whatever. And look, I know I'm making this sound like it's a stent at a prison camp. It's not that bad, but it is a barrier. It is another thing to kill your inspiration, and this thing already has that in spades. It's like a last nail in the coffin. Like, you've gone through all this shit, you finally just want to take your song into the DAW to fix it, and there's not an easy way to do that. It sucks. I hate it. It's one of the biggest things that keeps me from making full tracks on the Octatrack, is that it's just so tedious getting it into the DAW. Whereas on the Digitact and the Digiton, I'm making comparably the same music anyway. But then I just plug a USB to my computer and whoop, all they go. In there, no problem. And I love that. So there it is. 8 reasons that I really genuinely get annoyed by the Octatrack. 8 reasons that I think will turn people off the Octatrack. 8 reasons that if any of these things sound really frustrating to you, really annoying, run for the hills, man. Get something else or don't get anything at all, because that's always a valid option. By the way, you don't have to buy gear. You don't need any of this shit. It's just fun little toys. So really consider that. This is actually something maybe I should bring up. These are supposed to be fun things that help you decompress from the day, help you feel like you're accomplishing your musical goals. If they frustrate you more than they give you that joy, you should take them and punt them into the sky. And if you're questioning whether or not any of these devices will do that, just don't buy them, man. Just don't buy them. You don't need them. Use the stuff that already works for you, that makes you happy. So, just really quick before I go, let's recap the 8 reasons why I don't think this thing is for everybody. Big learning curve. It's like this. It's really high up. You can't even see it. It's above the camera. Number 2, it's easy to make really big mistakes, lose entire projects. It happens. It sucks. Whatever. Number 3, really bad manual. It's useful if you kind of know the device, but if you don't know the device at all, it is basically useless. Number 4, so many menus. Oh my God, there's so many menus. And it's not like menu diving necessarily, but there's just so many screens, man. So many individual screens. It's so much, and I don't like it. Number 5 is that none of these skills are going to transfer anywhere. Can't take these things to the Digitact or the Digiton or other Elektron devices. Just not really transferable skills. Number 6 is that the effects are dog shit and bad and ugly and shitty and poopy, and I hate their existence, and I just wish they could be better. Number 7 is that it has a really boring sound. You got to color it up in the DAW somehow, or maybe throw a compressor on the master channel of the Octatrack and just deal with that, I guess, but then you're sacrificing a master slot. That's a whole thing. Whatever. I've gone past it. I can't go back to it now. And number 8, there's no easy way to get things into the DAW, and that's a huge bummer. So that's it, man. I love the Octatrack. I think it's a great piece of kit. It's my favorite device. Obviously, I'm biased here. I want everybody to love it, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. Not everything is for everybody. You should find the thing that's for you, or just stick with what you're doing, because ultimately, what you're doing is probably fine. That's all I got for you today. I want to thank you so much for watching. I want to thank Perfect Circuit for the affiliate links down below in case you do want to go buy an Octatrack or you do want to go buy a Digitact. Go buy those things if you want them. Please don't buy them if you're not sure. Think about it. Take your time. And don't spend your dime without listening first to this rhyme. Is anybody still watching? Who's still hanging out? Comment down below if you're still hanging out at this part of the video, because sometimes I feel like I overthink the ends of these, which might sound crazy to you, but I feel like that sometimes. I don't even know if I was watching anymore, so I could just take my shirt off and go take a nap right now. Should I go do that? I guess I should finish the video. I will be back next week with a new video. I have no clue what it's going to be, but it'll be fun. Until then, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me this week, because you could have sat down with anybody on the whole dang internet, and instead you sat down with me, a guy whose hair is doing something. I got to get this dang thing cut, man. And I think that's really fucking neat. Really genuinely, I think that's awesome. I will see you next week. But until then, I'm Daniel. This is The Messy Desk. And I love you more than I love Jerry Remy, the best goddamn commentator in the game. You get well soon, Rem Dog. Peace.